you can draw this in Procreate. Do you think you can create this astronaut in Procreate? Of course you can, because I will guide you through every single step during this tutorial. You don't need any experience with Procreate or with drawing at all. During this tutorial, you will learn how you can add photos to your artwork. You will learn how you can use the Symmetry Tool in Procreate. And I will show you how you can use Alpha Lock and Layer Clipping Mask to add textures to your artwork. And once you are finished and you have watched the video all the way till the end, of course, you can share your work on Instagram. But first, hit that thumbs up, grab your pencil or your finger, and it's time to get started. The canvas is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels. And I have created a color palette for you, which you can download for free, of course, through the link in the description in case you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using during this tutorial. By the way, I'm using the sRGB color profile. First, we are going to work on our background and we will be using photos for that. I have grabbed some photos from unsplash.com. I have left links in the description if you want to grab the same photos as I'm using here. But of course, you can also use other photos, or if you are a patron, you can follow the Galaxy painting tutorial and add that to your artwork. Alright, if you want to add a photo to your artwork, all you have to do is go to the wrench, then to add, and then click insert a photo. Here are the photos that I have downloaded from Unsplash, and first we will pick this one over here. And let's rotate it. You can just use your fingers. And I want to fill the entire background. So make sure that you don't have any white edges because that would just look weird. And once you have placed it, you can just click the arrow here to get out of that menu. So this is a start, but let's add a little more variation. I'm going to add more photos. So let's go back to that wrench, insert a photo, and then let's grab this image over here. Now let's rotate it. And well, you can also use your pen to move it around, make it a little bit bigger. And I want to place it about here. Then click the arrow again. And of course, this looks a little bit weird, but to blend it with the background a bit more, we can change the layer blending mode. We'll click the N and we'll go for lighten. And now when you look at it, you can see it's blended way more with that background. Because it'll only show the colors that are lighter than the layer below. And everything that's darker will, well, kind of like disappear. Let's add another one. Let's go to the wrench again. Go to add, insert a photo. And this time, let's pick this image. And again, you can use your finger or the pen to make it smaller. Rotate it a bit to make it a little bit bigger again. Let's just play around. Perhaps it will look nice over here. Then click the arrow again. And again, we will use that layer blending mode. We'll click the N over here and go to lighten. Now you might want to adjust it a little bit. Remove some parts that you find a bit annoying. You can do that by clicking this layer and then go to mask. And then we have a layer mask attached to this image. And when we paint on that layer mask with black, we can mask parts out. So we can go and grab a soft brush under airbrushing, set it to black by double tapping here at the bottom. And let's make the brush a bit bigger. Let's go for, what is it, 14%. The opacity is at 55. And you can go over the edge a little bit if you want to merge it a bit more with that background. Now that we have our background, we can actually merge these layers. You can just pinch them together and we have our background layer. Now it's time to start creating our astronaut. Let's create a new layer by clicking the plus, and we are going to use the Symmetry tool. Now to use symmetry, you'll need to go to the wrench here, then to canvas, and then turn on drawing guide. Then you can go to edit drawing guide, and here at the bottom you'll see symmetry. And we have a line here, but it's hard to see because it's very dark. So let's pick another color. Let's use the slider and set it to white. So we will be able to see that symmetry line. And then just click done. And now whatever we draw on the left side will end up on the right side as well, and vice versa. For our brush, we will use the monoline brush, which you can find under calligraphy. And for the color, let's use this color over here, that second color. I have the opacity of the brush at 100% and the size is at 22%. Now I want the top of the astronaut to be a little bit above halfway. So let's just add a little marker for ourselves. Like that, so we'll know where we need to end up. And now let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see the entire canvas. And let's start about here in that corner, a little bit to the right. And we'll make a shoulder. We'll go up a little bit and then to the right. And let's just attach these two. So now we have the bottom part of our astronaut. Then we are going to add a little bump over here. Attach it again. And now it's time for its head. Now let's start about here and make a curved line up to that point that we have created. And it's okay if it's a little bit higher, as long as you don't go all the way here or a whole lot lower. This is fine. Now let's fill these shapes by dragging in the color like this. Then we have that base for our astronaut. Now let's say you want to adjust your astronaut a little bit. That's very easy. You can just go to the magic wand and use Liquify over here. Set it to push. And you still have symmetry turned on. So you can just push and pull some areas of your astronaut. For example, if you want to make it more rounded or less rounded, you can just adjust it a little bit like that. Just want to add a little extra here on the side. Let's go a bit diagonal, then up and then back to its head. And then let's fill these shapes again by dragging in the color. Now we are going to add that visor shape. I do hope it's called a visor, not actually sure. Let's pick this color over here. Now we are going to draw a circle. Just draw a circle, hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And let's hold your finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfect circle. And just try to not spit on your screen like me. Alright, now let's fill the shape by dragging in the color. And let's make sure it's centered. We can do that by going to the arrow, then set it to snapping by clicking snapping over here. And then when you move it around, you'll see that orange line. And we will be sure that it's centered. Alright, let's click the arrow again. And now we can use that little liquify trick again to adjust it a little bit, but we do want to make sure that we have symmetry turned on this layer. So go to the layer menu. You can see that symmetry is turned on for our little astronaut layer. You can see assisted. Let's turn it on for this layer as well. Just click it and then turn on drawing assist. And now let's go to liquify again. So click that magic wand, then liquify. And now let's adjust that visor a little bit. If it's even called a visor. Because as you all know, I'm Dutch and English is not my first language. So sometimes I need to search for words. All right, I think if we make it a little bit more like box shape, more like box shaped. I think that's looking nice. All right, let's click the magic wand again to get out of the menu, and we are going to duplicate this layer. We can do that by going to the layer menu, sliding to the left, and then clicking duplicate. And we are going to fill this layer with this dark color over here. Let's drag it on top of the shape. And now we are going to make it a bit smaller. We'll go to the arrow tool here. Then do make sure that you have it set to uniform before you start dragging one of the corners and then drag it around, make it a little bit bigger. All right, and then make sure it's centered inside of that yellow shape. You can use those blue markers, and then you can click the arrow again to get out of there. And now we can actually turn that symmetry line off. We can go to the wrench and turn off drawing guide here, but symmetry is still active actually. When you go to the layers, you can see that they are still assisted. So let's just turn that off now. We can click the layer and uncheck drawing assist, because we don't need that anymore. We are going to create a layer underneath our astronaut. Let's go to layer 1, then click the plus for a new layer. And then for the color, pick this third color over here. And we are going to create a little tube here. We're going to make a curvy line from here to there. And another curvy line here. Like that. And then make sure that they are closed. That you close these lines and make a shape, a closed shape, before you can fill it by dragging in the color. So now our astronaut at least has oxygen. Next, I want to create a little like collar shape here around its neck. So we are going to create a layer on top of our astronaut layer. And we are going to set it to clipping mask. Click the layer, turn on clipping mask. Now, whatever we paint here will only show up on our astronaut shape. Let's make a curved line from left to right. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to like a quick shape curved line. And you can actually go to edit shape here at the top and you can adjust it a little bit. You can drag these handles to adjust your curve. Until it looks something like this. Then click the brush again and let's make a curve here at the top as well. Hold your pen in place again. And then you can go to edit shape again and adjust that curve. And once you have done that, you can go to the brush again and make sure that that shape is closed, so that you can fill it by dragging in the color. Now let's add another photo to our scene. We'll go to the layer menu, go all the way to the top to layer 3, and we'll go to the wrench again, go to add, and insert another photo. This time we'll add this photo over here. And we are going to put it on that visor. But first, let's go to the layer menu, click this layer, and then turn on clipping mask. You can see that it's only visible on that shape of that visor right now. But it does look a little bit flat. Let's make it a bit more curved around that visor. Let's go to the arrow tool here and then click warp. Now you can use these handles to make that photo, make it a little bit more rounded and wrap it around that visor. So we're making it a bit rounded by dragging these little handles and dragging the sides. You can drag to just warp it a bit until you have something that looks like this. I think this is fine. Then just click the arrow again to get out of that menu. Now let's darken the sides a little bit. We'll create a new layer on top. Make sure that layer clipping mask is turned on here as well, because we don't want our little darkness to show up on the rest of the astronaut. Let's go and grab the soft brush and let's use this dark color again. And let's just go over the sides to darken those areas like that. And just for your info, you could also get the same effect by using the eraser with the soft brush on that photo layer, or by adding a layer mask to this photo layer and removing or masking parts of the sides So you have multiple roads that lead to Rome. Now let's get started on adding some texture to our astronaut and some more color. So we'll go to the layer, we'll click it, and we'll turn on alpha lock. Now the pixels on this layer are locked and we will only be able to paint on the astronaut shape and not on anything around it. So that's great for adding texture to a layer. And to add that texture, we are going to use a brush from the treasure chest, which you can get for free through freefromflow.com. We'll be using the dark noise brush. Let's pick a color. Let's start with this third color over here, that pink, to add some color to our astronaut. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and let's make it a bit bigger. Let's go for 35% and let's go over the left side of our astronaut. I want to keep the right side a bit light and I want to make the left side a bit darker. So just use multiple strokes, slowly building up that pink color and just go over halfway. And we'll just slowly build this up. We can go to the darker purple right now, that second color, and then go over that left side. Don't go all the way to the right. Focus on this left side. We'll just imagine that some more light is coming from this side, some more yellowish light, and that there is some shadow here. You know, it just gives a cool effect. Let's also add some oranges, or well, orange color, not real oranges. We'll add some orange, this fourth color, and we'll add that to this area. We won't go all the way to the right. We want to keep that light, but we'll make this a little bit warmer, creating a nice textured like gradient. And if you added too much orange, you can just switch back to that pink or purplish pink and go over it again. No worries. Now let's do the same thing for that collar-like shape. Again, we will turn on alpha lock. So we will only be able to add that texture to the color itself. It's not like a real color, but let's just call it that. I've added some orange, but let's also add those pinks. Focusing on the left side. And then let's switch to the darker one, that second one. And let's create a darker shadow. Let's use this first one over here. And let's make the brush a little bit smaller. 16%. And let's focus on this lower edge. Since we are imagining that light is coming from just around here, then we'll have a little shadow here. We'll just go along that edge, adding that shadow. Well, let's add some of that dark shadow on the body and the shoulders as well. Let's go back to layer 2 and add some more dark shadow here. Just a little bit. And over here. Next we'll switch to that tube. Let's go to layer 5. Again, click the layer, turn on alpha lock. And let's go over with this purple first. Let's make it a bit bigger again, 35%. Let's darken that tube. And then we'll go even darker, use that first color, but make the brush a bit smaller again, 20%. And we'll go over the middle area. And then I want to add a little bit of light, like that yellowish light hitting that edge here. So let's pick this color over here. Let's make the brush even smaller, 12%. Well, let's just hit this edge. As if some light is hitting that tube over there. And now I want to add some secondary light. I want to add some blue light as well. Let's pick this color over here. And let's go along this edge as if there is a secondary light source on that side, hitting our astronaut, creating this nice blue extra light. It gives a nice extra dimension to our astronaut. Let's do it for that layer 2 as well, for its body. Let's add some light here on its shoulder. And here, well, it's like its ear. Looks like a monkey ear. And here at the top. You can slowly build it up. You can actually make the brush a bit bigger. 22. Adding some more blue to this side. And you can see that it really gives some more depth to our astronaut. Let's also go to that color layer, layer 6. Let's make it smaller again, 13% for example, and let's add a little bit of light here, hitting that side. Now we shouldn't forget that inside edge here, around that visor. Let's go to that layer, that's layer 3 over here. Again, let's use alpha lock, click the layer, turn on alpha lock. And then let's first go to this color, that second color. Make our brush a bit bigger, 32, 31. And we'll add a little bit of shadow here. Because if the light is coming from this direction, you'll get a shadow here and a light edge over there. Let's just go over here and let's also add a bit of that orange, that fourth color in that transition area. So a little bit here, a little bit at the bottom, creating a nice textured gradient. Next I want to add some lines. We'll do that with a brush under inking. It's the dry ink brush. And we are going to use this dark purple color for it. I have the opacity at 100% and the size is at 8%. And let's start with the little tube, layer 5. If you are a bit insecure, you can make a new layer on top by clicking the plus and setting it to clipping mask. If you feel more confident, then you can just draw on layer 5. Now let's add these curved lines to that tube, like that, all the way down. Until you have something that looks like this. Now let's do the same for the body, well, like the head, that base layer, layer 2. Let's add a little line over here, separating like that monkey ear with its head, creating a line. Let's do the same on this side. Just from the top part to the bottom here. And I'm working straight on the layer right now, but like I said, you can also create a new layer, set that to clipping mask, because that way you can always erase parts of your lines. Let's also add a dashed line here in the middle. And we'll make a line around that little edge. Now I did an Ask Me Anything on Instagram recently, and someone asked me if I practice before I record my videos. And yes, of course I do. I practice a lot. I have to break down all the steps, do it multiple times, before I'm ready to do the recording. And of course, I make mistakes as well. I'm just lucky because I can cut them out of my video. Who knows, maybe I need to try like 100 times before it's right. Like this is very challenging. Normally I would rotate my screen. You know what? I'm going to rotate it. Who cares? It's easier like this. Just go along that edge, adding that darker line. All the way around, a little bit over here. We can make that a little bit thicker. There. Now I just want a line around that color. Let's go to layer 6. You know what? I'm going to rotate it right away. And let's add a little line here as well. All the way from the top to the bottom. There. Finally, I want to add some extra light touches, especially to that visor. And we are going to do that by duplicating this layer first, this layer 3. Let's slide to the left, click duplicate, and then select that bottom one and drag that all the way to the top. Let's turn off clipping mask. And now let's fill it with this color over here. Let's drag it on top. And now let's make it a little bit smaller. We'll go to the arrow over here. Make sure you set it to uniform. Make it smaller. And drag it until it is centered. Then click the arrow again. And we are going to add a layer mask to this layer. Click the layer. Click mask. And then let's fill it with pure black. You can get pure black by double tapping here at the bottom. Then fill your layer mask and you can see that everything is masked now. But we don't want to mask everything. We want to get a part back. Let's go to the airbrushing brushes, use the soft brush and set our brush to pure white. We'll double tap here in the corner, although it's not really a corner since it's a circle. And I will go over the right side of that visor, adding some of that light back in. And I'm doing it very gently, using very little pressure, slowly building that color up. And adding some light here as well. Now I actually want this side to be a bit more bluish, because we also have that blue like secondary light. So let's go and click layer 3 underneath the layer mask. And then let's pick this blue over here. And also make sure that you turn on alpha lock on this layer, so we won't be able to paint outside of that shape. And now you can just go over this area and make it more bluish. Next we'll create a new layer on top. We'll click the plus. And we are going to the luminance brushes. And we are going to pick the flare brush. For the color, we are going to pick this second color over here. The opacity of the brush is at 100%, the size is at 30, and let's just click here, like that. And now we can actually rotate it by going to the arrow over here. And I want to rotate it by dragging this green little circle. And let's place it around here. You can also make it a bit bigger or smaller, whatever you want. I think this is a nice place. And then let's click the arrow again. Okay, finally, I want to add one more layer by clicking the plus. And I want to use the light pen. And we'll use that pink color over here. And let's set this layer to another layer blending mode. Let's click that N and let's set it to screen. I have the opacity of the brush at 100% and the size is also at 100%. We are going to add like a glowing edge to the right side of our astronaut. Why are we adding this? Just because it looks cool. And it'll fade a bit here towards the top. Let's also add a little bit to that inside here. A nice neon glow. I think that just gave our astronaut an extra nice touch. And now you're done actually. You have created an astronaut. Now go ahead and share your work. Don't forget, if you want to support this channel, then you can leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, of course. I want to thank you for watching. I will see you next week for the next You Can Draw This video tutorial.